going on? It's Ashwalker coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. Glad to have you here. Today we're talking about rare champions. Rare champions inside Raid Shadow Legends. I'm going to go through every single rare that I have ever 6-starred, and we're going to kind of talk about things because you know what? The honeymoon period, when you first 6-star a champion, you always think they're pretty good because if you're anything like me, maybe some of you guys are, you kind of, even if they're not that great, especially with legendaries, right? You kind of talk yourself into it. Yeah, no, not too bad. That's some nice damage. Look at that. Look at that damage. And then the next week, you start using them a little bit less. And then the next month, you're like, yeah. And then like 6 months later, you're like, yeah, it's a trash champion, you know? You just don't want to have invested your resources into a champion that's so freaking bad, right? So you have this denial phase. At least that's what I do sometimes. But with rares, I want to kind of start with a question for you guys. I think that... I hate to say this, but I think the caliber of rare champions they've released in this game the last year plus has been trash, man. The last good rare. Who is the last good rare that Raid Shadow... What is up with my hair over here, man?
Now, the main problem area is up here. All of this going on up here is what's causing me the most physical discomfort. This area is not good either. I hate this, but I'm mainly worried about this.
What's up with this? The last good rare that Plarium added to the game was like Frozen Banshee. Wasn't that like 2019? Wasn't that like 2019, man? I feel like Plarium internally have this this mentality, this philosophy that it's like, you know what, we're gonna shift the power in this game to epics because, well, it costs more to max out an epic, right? It costs more to ascend them. It costs more certainly to book them out. So it does feel like they've kind of had a shift in mentality where they don't really release too many compelling rares anymore. There are some exceptions, but you know, like Ashwalker, right? He's the first dude. He's like the best of the best when it comes to rares added to the game. And while he's not a trash champion, I mean, he is me after all. Thank you again, Plarium, for making me into a champion. So cool of you guys. So cool. Other than that, though, like, he's just, for a void rare, like, he's good. He's solid, but he's not like, you know, anything Coltar-esque, like the rares, the good rares, like we had back in the day, you know? Anyway, is it just me or do you guys feel the same way about rares? Getting to the crux of the matter, I want to give a disclaimer here, guys. I should have said this in the epic video. I released an epic video the other day or last week talking about 5 more epics who are better than legendaries. And I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but some of these champions I don't, even the good ones, some of them I just don't use anymore, right? So the gear might not make the most sense in every single one of these use cases. I'll try to point that out as I go through these champions. This is not meant to be like a guide or a build on any of these champions because what I end up doing is using some of these rares just to mule artifacts over. So don't judge too hard in terms of the stats. I will point out that the rares that I still use frequently as I go through these champions. So let's start with Ashwalker. Ashwalker, man, as you can see, like this build, for example, right? The stats aren't that bad, you know, like I can get utility out of him, but you know, I have like level 12 crit rate gauntlets. I could go crit damage if I really want to maximize this champion, I would, right? But overall, he does well enough with these stats to get, you know, the use case that I want out of him, which essentially is using him in maybe 1 or 2 secret rooms and Doom Tower rotations, which is going to be the case, excuse me, about pretty much every one of these rare champions with a few exceptions, as I mentioned. So Ashwalker, he is one of the better rares they've released in the game. I do not regret 6-starring Ashwalker. I really like this. We have a, 85% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on a 1 target, but then it decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 10% if the attack is critical. So you can lock out 1 enemy, do a decent amount of damage, and then decrease turn meter. I like this ability. And then Backbreaker is a strong AoE attack with a 100% chance to land the weak version of Weaken on a 3-turn cooldown. So overall, and he has speed in all battles, right, by 12%. So overall, again, to me, this is the best of the best in terms of what to be expecting from a rare champion. I'll show you the masteries as I go through as well. Scrapper, so I give Ashwalker a B. I give Ashwalker a B. Next up is going to be Scrapper. Scrapper's naked. A few naked champions along the way, guys.
Yeah, boy.
He's naked and he's naked. No artifacts and...
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
Dad jokes. It's not even a dad joke. It's not even a joke. It's just a bad pun. He takes 150 books to book out. So man, oh man, oh man, I just don't like Scrapper. I'm gonna give him a D. And why am I giving him a D? I do have a guide out on Scrapper. Scrapper's good because he has decreased enemy max HP, so he's good for the Scarab King. The only problem is everybody has access to Armiger, an uncommon champion who's better in destroy gear. So really the only way you're going to be using Scrappers on the same team is Armiger, who does more damage in destroy gear. And free for everybody eventually, just open a few mystery shards, right? Or do you want to book out 1,000,000 rare books for this dude? So that's what I have against Scrapper personally. That's why I give him a D. I really wouldn't invest unless you have him on the same team as Armiger, and do you really need two guys like that? I'd rather go with a support champion or something. So that's why he's naked. I think that Scrapper, he was brought to the game to give an affordable option, I guess, for Scarab King, but I don't think he really fits the bill. Dagger, I will say, is a B- champion. Dagger is one of our only options for an AoE decreased defense, the big version of decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown for rare champions, right? We have War Maiden, of course, on a 3-turn cooldown. She's Force Affinity. At least we have the neutral affinity for Dagger. The big bummer is, though, it's a 75% chance of land, 80% if you have Sniper. For a debuffer, even a Void debuffer, we're really looking for 100% land rate, right? So not consistently landing the decreased defense is what holds her back from being maybe a B+ or an A- in my ranking here. That being said, she has decreased attack that she brings to the table on one enemy as well. She has a 2-time hitter with turn meter fill on her A1. You could do a lot worse than Dagger. She's very fragile too, though. 12.7k on the HP and 793 on the defense is very, very, very squishy. So again, I kind of hold that against her as well. So overall, Dagger is a reliable Void AoE 3-turn cooldown decreased defense champion. Blech. That was a mouthful. And she's not bad. She does some decent damage as well. Khazard Depart. He's one of my favorite Voids out there. Again, forgive things like not maxing out my crit rate on some of these champions who I don't use very often. Khazard, again, probably use him for, I do use him for control in some rooms, some Doom Tower rooms, because he has 2 AoE attacks, right? He has an AoE on a 3-turn here, and he has another AoE on a 3-turn here. He also has increased accuracy on all allies. He was the first champion, I believe, to have increased accuracy on all allies, right, in the game. Of course, Stagnite was the first to have it on his passive in the game at all for a buff, but here we have it on an AoE again. So really cool champion in that regard. I would say him and Ashwalker are probably the best 2 rares released. Might be forgetting somebody in the last 2 years or so. I like Khazard Depart, man. He's a cool champion, and I have him in a stun set. So more than the damage, I'm actually looking for him to be a debuffer. He has the weak version of decreased defense in his kit, and I'm also looking for him to be a control champion, right? Just stun the enemies, because so many of these secret rooms in Doom Tower, especially on Doom Tower Hard, you just need really good crowd control, meaning you'll see a lot of rare champions in stun sets. So I give Khazard Depart. I'm actually going to give him a B+, maybe even an A-. He's one of my favorite Void rares out there. Gear Grinder, I'm going to give a B. Gear Grinder's not too bad. He has a decent amount of HP, so I put him in a shield set, right? I made him like the ultimate support champion, right? Again, I use him in secret rooms in Doom Tower Hard. That's kind of where a lot of endgame players will be using these rare champions that we talk about today, with the exception of probably like Cold Heart and a few others. I like having one champion in a shield set just in case I need to buy a little bit of time, right? My abilities on cooldown on the waves. So shield with a lot of HP, and he's a reviver, and he's got a decent heal. Very average to slightly below average heal, but a heal nonetheless. So he's got a shield, he's got a little bit of speed, he's got, what does he have? Continuous heal on the A1. If the attack is critical, he has an AoE heal on a 3-turn cooldown, so not a bad heal, right? But it's their max HP, not his. If it was his max HP, I'd be a lot higher on this champion. But then he has a revive, a single target, kind of lackluster revive, but it is a revive on a rare champion on a 5-turn cooldown, so I will take it. Went War Master to get a little bit of extra damage. Went with the healing masteries, obviously, as well. So I like Gear Grinder. I'll give him a B. Draconis, I used to be a lot higher on this dude, but not so much anymore. Draconis is a support champion. He has a heal on his A1, he has a shield on his A2, and he has a, on the Order of Mercy, excuse me, he has a heal based on the damage inflicted with a single ally, cleanse. So I think he's probably a C+. I don't think he's a trash champion per se. You can use him in faction wars, etc. But I just don't think, I think there's a lot of better healers out there, even in the rare category. So that's why, to me, He's just an average, decent support champion. It will help you out with faction wars, especially with that shield, right? So no hate, Draconics, maybe a B-, C+. Dilgal. Dilgal is an interesting dude, right? He's a little dwarf who can deal a decent amount of damage as well with a shot spray. It's an AoE 2-time hitter with decreased accuracy. Not bad to have that. And then he has a single target, pretty decent damage ability on the big game hunter. So overall, you know, not too bad. He's a single hitter on his A1. I would love to see this be either the big version, decreased speed, a higher chance of landing it, or maybe a multiple hitter as well on the A1. But, you know, this is why I say that I think that all voids should be looked at, and a lot of them should receive buffs because of my rant video about void champions in the game last week. I think they ought to be better than they are, you know. But anyway, Dilgal, you know, kind of build him here in a very weak build. If you just 100% crit rate, just trying to get a little bit of damage, have him land his debuffs, and that's about it, right? So I think that the overall Dilgal is a pretty cool champ. I'll give him a B-. I'm a tough grader, guys. I'm a tough grader, so forgive me if you guys, you know, disagree or hire any of these champions, but I think he's a decent champion. Reliquary Tender, I'm going to give her an A. She is, in my mind, probably the second best, or the second or third best rare in the game, right? Maybe top 5, right? Top 5, certainly.
You weren't really but you weren't all that great either.
So, Relentless set. I put Relentless in all the champions that I love the most in the game because I want the champions that I love the most to do more of what they do the best, right? And that's obviously a little bit, doesn't fit every single champion, but especially support champions, especially champions like this with a cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown with a continuous heal. I want to have that, you know, as often as possible. She has decreased attack, weak version on her A1, and she has a revival on a 5-turn cooldown. Again, a la Gear Grinder, not quite as strong of a revival, but a revival nonetheless, which again, we have like Grinner, Gear Grinder, Reliquary Tender. I think I may be missing like 1, maybe 2 others, but there's not that many rare revivers out there in the game. And by the way, revivers, guys, just while I'm here, I don't have them built, but Unbury is a pretty solid revival on Grinner on a 4-turn cooldown. So talking about rare revivers, there's not that many, as I just mentioned, and Grinner is actually a pretty solid one. Just wanted to kind of include that in case you're looking for a good rare reviver out there, right? So back to my champions, though. Reliquary Tender, she's got the cleanse, she's got the revival. I give her an A, maybe an A+ for a rare champion. We're grading on a curve here, but she is how a void rare ought to be, in my opinion. Love this champion. So masteries, here you go. I have her, I already mentioned, in Relentless gear, and let's go to I hate Harrier. He's a trash champion. I only built him for the memes. F. Big, fat, F. Now I have him naked. I don't use him. I don't like him. Get out of here, Harry. You're ruining my video. Seducer, I will give a, well, I have him naked right now. I have not built him yet. I don't even have masteries on him yet, so I will reserve my judgment, but I want to say my gut call is probably going to be around a B- on Seducer. Not a bad champion. We have Painkeeper. Painkeeper, you know, she's using unkillable comps like the double man-eater, right? The Batman comp. She's pretty good. She has an AoE with a heal on the AoE attack, and then she has this combat tactics, which she's known for. Decrease the cooldown of all ally skills by 1 turn. Doesn't sound that incredible next to like skill with magic, but still very, very effective, especially when you want to, you know, make an unkillable team work, which is where she's mostly used. But she can also be used rather effectively in the early game. She has a lot of base HP for a rare champion too, so you can put her in a shield set in the early game as well. Get some utility there. I'm gonna give Painkeeper a B+. I think she's a pretty solid champion. Bellower is also gonna get an A, right? Bellower, you know what? I'm tempted to go A+, but yeah, he's also another top 3, top 5 rare champion in the game, and he's amazing. You can build him so many different ways. He has an AoE attack on every single ability, so I have him in a stun set, right? Land those stuns. It's all about those stuns, guys. An AoE on the A1 with block active skills, pretty powerful, albeit only a 30% chance at landing, but block active skills is very good to have, especially on an A1. We have decreased speed on the A2 on a 3-turn cooldown. Weak version, but still very good to have. And then weak version of decreased attack and decreased defense, great for damage mitigation and damage maximization as well on this 4-turn ability. So you can build him as a nuker, you can build him as a control champion, you can build Bellower in so many different ways, a campaign farmer. This guy's really, really special, and this is how a void champion ought to be made, Plarium. This is like a great void champion. So I kind of have him in a little bit of a hybrid here. He's built for some damage. He's tanky enough to stay alive in most areas. could probably stand to gain a little bit more accuracy, and we have him in a stun set. So this is my favorite build for Bellower, trying to get, you know, a little bit of everything out of this dude. Can also go down the support tree as well. Probably should redo the masteries here, but I do have a fearsome presence to get that extra 5% chance at landing those stuns, which I think does have really obvious and good synergy with the rest of his kit. We're gonna give him an A+. Fellhound, A. He's the best campaign farmer in the game. I will point out that attack percentage on the boots are going to be mandatory in most cases to get the damage to where it needs to be able to farm 12 free brutal. Just make sure he's faster than Lord Shazar, which I think is around, what is it, around like 105 speed or so. So as long as he's faster than Lord Shazar, he's going to be good for a campaign farmer, guys. Just try to maximize that attack and crit rate, crit damage, and then you will have the best campaign farmer in the game. He's also good for Fire Knight and various other areas of the game. He does have Reflect and a continuous heal on a 2-turn cooldown, which a lot of people don't talk about, you know? So you can use him certainly in the early game and progression as well, outside of, you know, not just only campaign. By the way, this does scale off defense and attack too, so just keep that in mind. Going defense percentage on the boots probably would work even a little bit better, but I need the crit rate. Okay? And he gets the job done. 5-second campaign farmer. Fellhound is amazing. Very, very good champion. Masteries-wise, again, I'll just gonna go ahead and show you what I want for my campaign farmer in terms of masteries. I do have the crit damage there as well. I'm not sure if Helm Smasher would be more effective or not, but either way, again, he gets it done in 5 seconds, so it's good, right? Doomscreech. I'll give Doomscreech a... Whew. Doomscreech is one of the... This ability is insane for a rare. 30% turn meter fill, a la like Seeker, right? Looks kind of like Seeker's lost, you know, brother or cousin or something.
Vincent's brother.
We're twins.
That's right.
And the big version of increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. I want to say like Marked and Doomscreech might be the only 2 champions with a big version of increased defense, excuse me, on a 3-turn cooldown. And then he has a shelter ability with a shield on himself as well. I think that Doomscreech is a good progression option with a lot of HP too, so you can put him in a shield set if you want to. I chose to build him very, very fast, and I don't use him anymore. So this is one of the champions I don't really use, but he's not a trash champion, right? He's useful for the obvious reasons that we kind of discussed. I have him in just double speed here. So yeah, not a bad champ. I'm going to give him a B-. I think, again, increased defense used to be really important. With turn meter fill, it's still a great ability, but, you know, nowadays, we're looking for a little bit extra. We want them to bring a little bit more to the table than just that, at least in my opinion. Maybe I'm being too harsh on the big fella. Renegade, I don't have built, but definitely one of the most unique and special rares inside the entire game because of Sacrificial Ritual ability. Reduce cooldown of all ally skills by 2 turns. So we have Painkeeper and Renegade as these reduced cooldown, you know, global effect, or I guess on our allies effect in the game. Renegade for me is an A-, even though I haven't built her yet. And she doesn't require a lot, right? Just like book out the A3, and that's all that really matters, right? You know, on this champion, just build her fast. Cold Heart is an A+. I have 2 Cold Hearts built. I could probably build 15 of them because she's that good. I obviously exaggerate, but I have 1 in Destroy gear for Scarab King, and I have 1 in just normal gear. The cool thing about Heartseeker is, has an extra 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit, so you can build her with 70% crit rate if you want to, and really try to prioritize getting those crit damage gauntlets on this champion. She does deal a lot of damage on her A2 as well, and her A1 is a 4-time hitter, great for Fire Knight, one of the best champions in the game alongside Allure. I would put them as 1A and 1B, which is cool, because they're rare and epic champions that are that good for Fire Knight. So Cold Heart is an incredible, incredible champion. Cold Heart number 2 as well here. She is in Reflex. I love Reflex gear on Cold Heart. Just basically getting her going with that Heartseeker as much as humanly possible. And we can shut off the A2, so when that Reflex procs, 40% chance to reduce the random skill cooldown, well, it's only going to be 1 skill, right? So I shut off the A2, especially in Fire Knight, so we just have as many Heartseekers as humanly possible, right? So I love Cold Heart, obviously, just one of the best abilities inside the entire game on the Heartseeker ability. A+, she, to me, is the strongest rare champion inside the entire game. War Maiden, we talked about her earlier. I have her double accuracy set here. She actually has solid multipliers as well, so you can build her to actually do some damage. Obviously, prioritizing accuracy is going to be important as well. We have Opportunity Strike, deals a decent amount of damage with an extra hit as well that can't be critical, but Crumbling Blast is really what it's all about with this champion. Decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown with a decent amount of damage, and she's campaign farmable. I will give her an A-. An A-. You can get some damage out of her as well. You guys can see I went down and picked up Flawless Execution, which is interesting. I think Flawless Execution, by the way, on Coldheart, 20% extra crit damage on a max HP champion really does a lot of extra damage. On a champion like War Maiden, though, I think I did this just experimenting in a video. I would definitely go ahead and build her with War Master, or if you're using her for the arena, with Helm Smasher. So again, do as I say, not as I show here. Another example of that. But I think she's a really solid champion. Sentinel I have not built or used yet, so I'll report back. Same thing with Eris. Eris, my bad, guys. Eris. So, Eris, I can't wait to use for Clan Boss, right? Remove 1 random debuff from all allies, chance of placing increased speed on all allies for 2 turns as well. It's a really good ability. And then we have counterattacks the attacker when an ally is attacked. You can get a lot of extra damage off of this Bullseye A1. So I can't wait to use her, but I won't grade her before I've, used her. We have Sentinel, who has a whopping counted 60, 70, 85% chance of placing a provoke on his A1. One of the best champions in the game. For Magma Dragon, I feel comfortable saying he's a B+ champion, although very niche, right? Avir the Alkamage. Avir isn't the worst champion in the game. I have in lifesteal, just kind of random gear on this dude. But, keep him alive. He's a support champion, is nice as well. He needs accuracy, he needs speed, he needs some crit rate, some crit damage. Not the easiest rare to build. However, he does have an AoE attack with decreased attack and decreased speed if they're under poison, okay? So, I love the decreased speed. I hate conditional decreased speeds with the poison synergy. It doesn't really make a lot of sense when compared to the rest of his kit. He's not placing poison except for his A1, but it's only a 45% chance. I guess it's not bad against bosses now that I think about it, so I take it back. But Vitalizing Potion is pretty good as well. 4-turn cooldown, turn meter fill, and a heal. Not an insane ability, not an insane champion, but, there's a lot worse in the game as well. I'll give Avir the Alkamage a B-. I think it's a pretty fair grade. We have Grave Chill Killa. Grave Chill Killa is cool when you pair her with Frozen Banshee. Other than that, she's a very mediocre champion. I'm going to give her a C-. She has decreased defense, but she'll place the big version instead if the target is under a poison debuff. That's one of the reasons she has great synergy, again, with Frozen Banshee. She was released the same day, too, the same batch of champions as Frozen Banshee. She places a big version of poison if they're under poison sensitivity as well. Another reason she has great synergy with Frozen Banshee, the first champion in the game to be added with poison sensitivity. So I'll give her a C-. She's good with Frozen Banshee. Other than that, meh, meh. Overall stats here you guys can see, just whatever, the, mediocrity at its finest. Frozen Banshee, I'm gonna say A- or B+, right? She used to be an A+ maybe when she was introduced, because again, she was the only first champion and only champion at the time to have poison sensitivity in her kit, right? So that was so important for Clan Boss. Since then, there's been a lot of other champions added, so it's made her a little bit less unique, but it's certainly not any less effective, right? So she has turn meter fill on the A2, she has poison on the A1, just really, really good for Clan Boss, guys, right? So you're gonna wanna pick up War Master, obviously, on this champion, Master Hexer as well. Man, I mean, what else is there to say about Frozen Banshee? She's a solid champion, one of the best in my opinion. Why does she have 120 speed? What does she have on her boots here, Ash? Attack percentage, definitely muling artifacts because I do not use her, so definitely want to have speed on the boots. We don't want to put attack percentage on our boots for Frozen Banshee. I don't know what I'm going to do? As a reminder to myself, I'm going to remove those right now, just in case I do have to use her someday, and we won't wonder why she's so slow. So Frozen Banshee, definitely, I'm going to say A- still, because she still does what she does incredibly effectively, right? And she, again, man, she's one of the only kind of expansion edition, if you will, rare champions that are actually useful, right? Hospitaller, I just built for the memes. She's a companion champion with Harrier. You can check out that video. She's an F. She's a really awful champion. There's really not much to say about this champion. An AoE chance of removing 1 buff. It barely even touches them. It does no damage. She has increased speed, increased crit rate. on both weak versions on a 3-turn. I don't know. I guess you could run her at level 50 and use her for faction wars, and you can do a lot worse. So maybe we'll call it a D instead of an F, okay? Diabolist, B+. First of all, she's one of the fastest rares in the game, 110 speed. I don't use her right now, but don't, treat that as a knock on her, right? You do need accuracy. You need a lot of speed on this champion, and some damage. She can actually put out some damage as well. So very, very cool champion, and she's campaign farmable in stage 12, right? She has sleep on her A1, who cares? She has an increased speed on all allies with an AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2. Very, very solid. And then she has fill turn meter and decreased turn meter on a 4-turn cooldown on her A3 ability. Simple kit, but very, very effective. We're talking about a decent amount of damage, decent multipliers from this ability, Electric Storm, and then turn meter control and increased speed. Very, very good champion in my opinion. And yeah, no problem going B+ or A- on Diabolist. We have Kale. I'm going to go with all of the starters. I don't use any of the starters. Well, I think I use Aethel on some secret rooms and Elhain on some secret rooms, so I take it back. I'm not sure what artifacts I have on them right now. But Kale, I'm going to go with, B+. Aethel will go with B+. Again, kind of half naked here, but I kind of mule artifacts here and there, depending on who I'm using for whatever rotation secret rooms are. Aethel has, out of all the starters, she's really grown on me a ton because she has a turn that gains an extra turn. Basically bringing this down to a 3-turn, bringing this down to essentially a 2.5-turn cooldown, right? So she's just a very, very good champion, right? I really like Aethel, triple hitter with the big version of Weaken on the A1. I'm going to give her an A-. I actually think that she's just as special as Kale in different ways, right? In different ways. Elhain is actually really good in the end game because of these secret rooms, right? She has the Valley of Death on an AoE on the A3, and she has an AoE as well. Attacks one enemy, then all enemies on her A2. So just, put her in a shield set or just build her to do a lot of damage. And lifesteal, keep her alive, and she can be very effective as well. So really with Elhain, I should have Giant Slayer, not... I think I was trying to mess around and use her as a campaign farmer, but we should go Giant Slayer as a tier 6 choice on Aethel because of the triple hitter on her A1. But really, I'll go Aethel A-, Kale B+, Elhain B+, rather. Galek maybe B-. He's my least favorite of the 3, but he's not a trash champion. He actually deals probably more damage, maybe the same as Elhain, but he has good multipliers. He has increased speed on himself as well. Pretty cool champion. Just not my favorite. I wish this was a little bit more consistent than a 4-time at random decreased defense, but what are you going to do? Greybeard is another campaign farmable champion, guys. Greybeard is pretty cool. I tried him in a triple frostbite set. Actually made a video about that. He's not like a game changer champion, but he's cool for a campaign farmable. Everybody can get this dude, right? He has a high chance of provoke on the A1. Again, we talked about Sentinel. I mean, check this out. Not bad, 70% chance on that A1. And then he has an AoE with, again, talking about control here and damage based on defense. He has an AoE with a 40% chance of freeze, right? And then bring it on. He has a shield on himself with a counterattack on himself, excuse me. So, and he has a great aura. Increased defense in dungeons by 30%. So this is a champion that would definitely pick up on every free-to-play account out there. He's a really solid champion, right? I'm going to put him as a B+. I think a lot of people sleep on Greybeard. Next up, Apothecary. We'll put him as an A-. He's definitely a top 5 rare champion in the game, along with Bellower and Coldheart, Reliquary Tender. I think I'm forgetting one more that I mentioned earlier, but either way, he's great, right? He has a great heal on a 2-turn cooldown. That's amazing, right? That's amazing. And it can be critical as well. He can really rip off some amazing heals. He's a great support champion. Triple hitter on his A1, makes him Fire Knight viable. You can get War Master as a tier 6 mastery, or excuse me, Giant Slayer on a triple hitter as a tier 6 mastery. Make sure you pick up those healing masteries as well in this champion. And he has increased speed with turn meter fill. Man, and a great aura. Defense and dungeons by 21%. Man, not an A-, an A. Give him an A, Ash. Apothecary is a great champion, right? We have a few more left here, guys. Banshee I've not built yet, but I can't wait to build her, so I will reserve my score on her. But we have an AoE decreased defense on the A1. I mean, really, you should A2, AoE as well, with a chance at removing a buff. And the A3, well, we can just shut that down if we don't want to use it, on Hydra Clan Boss, for example. Really cool champion. I want to put her in a stun set and just shut off the A3 and use her as control. So that's why I built her. But I will reserve my judgment. Hellfreak. This is the champion they turned Hell Hades into, right? He needs 150 books on his A1. He's got a chance of stealing buffs from one enemy and then swap HP with an enemy in extra turn. Man, he's not that good. He's not that good. I built him just to mess around with him and, you know, had some fun with him. But look at that defense. 650? Is he a common? Is he a common? He dies like it's nobody's business, man. He dies a lot. I'm gonna give him a D minus maybe even, guys. I'm really just not impressed with Hellfreak at all. Hellborn Sprite, however, she's on my new best clan boss team, world's record setting, not my team, but I built the team, the Infinity Shield team. So for that reason alone, I'm going to give her a B+. Transmuter, increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn, then places increased crit rate on all allies by 2 turns. So we have that 3-turn cooldown, increase the duration of all buffs by 1 turn, and really that's it. She also brings Weaken. That's why she's used on that team, because Weaken, even the weak version of Weaken, is still going to give 15% extra damage. I think people undervalue the weak version of debuffs, because if you don't have the debuff already on your squad, why not go with the weak version? You're still getting something out of that ability, right, guys? So you can see I have her in that clan boss build right now on the masteries and the artifacts in a guardian set. But I'm going to give her a B+. Soulbound Bowyer. You know what? We said there was one other top 5 rare that we're not including, that I forgot. I'm going to give it to Soulbound. I really like Soulbound Bowyer, guys. She's a really, really good champion. I have her in a stun set, and basically stun, avenging, or retaliation are 3 sets you can consider on Soulbound Bowyer. She has a really good kit. I have an AoE on the A1, so you can, you know, just AoE on Doom Tower secret rooms. And she's a great a control option in a stun set, right? And if you're gonna do that, you know, no issues going down and picking up, kind of like Bellower, picking up Fearsome Presence, getting extra 5% chance, 23% chance of landing that stun. I have her in War Master Mastery, so it really depends on how you're using this champion. But man, Infused Arrow, ignore, every ability has a 25% chance of inflicting a critical hit, you know, except for, oh yeah, every ability. That's awesome, right? Awesome. Build her with 75% crit rate. And then she's ignoring 75% of the target's defense. And on Soulbound Shot, she has a 100% chance of fully depleting the target's turn meter as well, man. This is an insanely good kit, guys. It really is. Her multipliers are not out of this world, but she can still one-shot, you know, quite a few opponents in the arena as well. I really need to kind of re-gear her and get that crit rate up to 100%, and that's the biggest gripe that I have right now, and her accuracy. So I really have her in a crappy build, because essentially I'm just using her right now, just AoE control in the A1 in one particular secret, you know, secret room, as I mentioned. So overall, we definitely need to re-gear this champion, but that does not take away from how amazing she is. We're gonna give her an A. She's a really, really good champion. Corporal and Cadaver, B+, for the same reason we talked about here on Hellborn Sprite. He is in the Infinity Shield team because this ability can hit for about 1 million damage per hit on clan boss, guys. Not that ability, excuse me. This ability, here we go. Attacks one enemy, inflicts additional damage if this champion is under shield buff. The damage equals 30% of the value of the shield. So you pair him with Brogni, you put a shield on him and just keep growing it and growing it and growing it and growing it and growing it till he's dealing just insane damage, right? So Corporal and Cadaver, not a great champion overall. We don't even use, we shut down his A2, we shut down his A3, we don't even use it on the clan boss team. So not a game changer, very niche, but he is on the best clan boss team in the world. So there's that, right? There's that. Pretty cool A1, pretty cool synergy. And you know what? That's like a good point to make here towards the end of this video, is that rares don't need to be good in every area of the game. They just need to be good in one area of the game, and then give them some utility and some purpose. And that makes sense to me, you know? Marquess, and then epics and legendaries should be more well-rounded, right? That's my philosophy. If I was running Raid Shadow Legends, that's how I would balance these champions. Marquess is the best arena nuker out of every rare champion inside the entire game. This ability, Crush the Weak, it's a 2-time hitter, right? If they have the weaken. So as long as she's, or somebody's setting her up, Ryan the Conjurer, perfect setup. This is what I use for her, right? Set her up with a weaken. She has it herself as well, but it's not a 100% chance of landing. And she's gonna deal extra damage, which is essentially an extra hit. And she hits very hard based on defense as well. So Arena Nuker Marquess, cool champion, really cool. I think shout out to maybe YST is the guy that I first saw use her and just absolutely shred with her. Ignore the gear. We're going to put her in Savage gear. We're going to go with Helm Smasher as our tier 6 mastery on this champion. We're going to give her an A. We'll give her a B. It's just very niche, right? And you're going to outgrow her eventually in the arena, but she's fun to have fun with, right? Just like everybody else or most of the other champions here. Berserker, we're going to give him a B-. He's a simple champion, right? It's the sweep ability. Attacks all enemies 2 times, ignore 20% of each target's defense. So I have him in a stun set. You know, you only still get 1 shot of the stun on a 2-time attack. It's not like you're getting that 18% every single time. But still, he can help stun. And he's a damage dealer, right? There's not that many, this rare, like, solid damage dealers, especially Spirit Affinity. There's quite a few Spirit Affinity and Magic Affinity, like, specific Doom Tower rooms. So I have him in there just to help a little bit with the stuns and to do some damage for me, right? So I would probably put him in stun or savage or lifesteal, right? Probably lifesteal or stun to help with control. And, you know, he'll deal some damage, right? Try to get that crit rate, that crit damage as high as you can with putting crit damage gauntlets on him. So guys, there it is. That's every single rare champion I maxed out in the game, and what I think of them. Who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? What's a rare maybe that I'm missing here that you would suggest that I invest in? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.